So when I was 21, I had the opportunity to be part of the production of Black Panther. I was one of the extras during the Warrior Fall scene, which is T'Challa versus M'Baku, one of the opening scenes of the movie and the introduction of the Black Panther and the character of T'Challa. I was one of the Wakandans on the waterfall looking down at the battle. Right now, in real life, I was 21 years old. I was in Atlanta at the time. Had a side gig as a server at California Pizza Kitchen, and I was developing myself as a model and an actor in the entertainment industry. Right. Um, you know, it was the hardest I'd ever worked in my life, and I'd never done something where I was working that hard to produce, and to be a part of something. We shot for 2 months, from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. And so you can imagine when you're leaving at 11 p.m., you're not getting into at least about midnight. And then to get in at 7 a.m., you're leaving the house around 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then you're doing that consecutively for 2 months. But then despite that, I would get on set, of course, as an extra, and Chadwick would be there before us. And they'd already be doing his makeup, and he'd already be on set doing fight choreography and working with the fight coordinator. And so I'm watching him, and I'm looking at this work ethic, and I'm watching him as he's, going through the fight motions, and he's very disciplined in the way he's moving. And there was one moment where, if you watch the movie, they're fighting like in water. Like they're fighting in water, of course. So like there are moments where both of them slip. And I mean, of course, this is not in the movie at all. This is me watching as they're shooting. And there was like a point where Chadwick wasn't getting it as right, and they wanted to switch him out with the his fight double. And he was like, no, he's persistent, frustrated. He's like, no, I'm gonna do it. I got this. And it got to a point where he was like, fuck, like just so frustrated that, he couldn't get the fight coordination right. And what the lesson I took from that was, first of all, we're all human. We'll all make mistakes. Even though he is this figure, we are still human. There's still a process that we still have to go through in our craft. This is a man who was shot movie upon movie upon movie and played role upon role of very iconic figures, and he's still having trouble in this moment. He is still human. So to humanize him and show him it's okay to be human. It's okay to have mistakes and failures in the process. And also his amount of work ethic. This man works so hard on his craft. He worked so hard on his acting. He worked so hard to get this fight coordination right. He wanted it to be perfect. He wanted it to be perfect. And I would see him and just be in awe of him and look at him and like, I always say, if I was Cyclops, he would be dead already, because the way I was staring at him with so much intensity. I say the only person I was looking at on set harder than Chadwick was Lupita. That's a that's a fact, I would just stare at him and and just watch how he worked, and watch how he kind of, was just how observant he was, and how he would stay on the side and just practice his katas and practice the moves that he was going to do when he was in the arena with M'Baku. And the moment, the scene that I love. There are plenty of scenes. There are plenty of things that we did that I love. But my favorite was when he drank the poison, And that moment, they said quiet on the set, right? And now there's hundreds of us extras on the waterfall. There's crew down there. There's $1 million lights on us and, cameras and stuff like that. And everybody has to quiet down. And all I hear is, shh. And of course, that's the simulated waterfall behind us. No, yeah, shh. And then quiet down. Action. And, Forrest Whitaker walks up. The Black Panther will now drink the poison. Something to that effect, right? And it's funny because the poison was actually, uh, it was naked juice. It was the Berry Blast naked juice. I remember that detail. But my favorite is when he drank the poison and he had to emote, losing his panther powers so that he could become more human to fight fairly in this duel to be king. And just that whole scene that, in the movie the veins are creeping up and you can see he's weakening, and then all of us as Wakandans, we stand and we and we're giving him energy, and we're like, yo, we're with you, King. We got you. You got this. And even one of my castmates or one of the extras beside me, he asked me, he was like, yo, what are we doing this for? And I explained it to him, like, yo, because he was just kind of shrugging his shoulders, and I was like, no, it's toward him. We're giving him energy. We're showing that he's with him. We're showing our reverence for our King because he's drinking poison, weakening himself so that he can fight fairly in this match to be our King. And that moment, the thing is, the energy of it, I forgot, we were on a set. That moment felt real, of giving him our energy, of giving him our belief in him. Like, you got this, King. You got this. Because it wasn't even about T'Challa in that moment. It was about Chadwick in that moment. You got this. We're behind you. There was another situation with him that really showed his character and why I looked up to him just as a person. We were shooting this dance scene towards Warrior Falls. We're on the boats, right? And we're on the boats and we're doing our dances, and one of the extras, he passes out from heat stroke. And what Chadwick did was, he came all the way from his trailer, which was on the other side of the set. He came all the way from his trailer. He came to where we were shooting that scene to see if the guy was okay. Once he seen he was okay, he came over to us and was, asking us how we was doing, and raising our morale and giving us words of encouragement, and and just seeing him raised our morale just made us feel a lot better about what we were doing and why we were doing it. And he's playing with the children, and I'm really watching him. I'm not all up on him like everybody's all up on him and trying. I'm just watching him. Like, yo, this is a real life king. Like, he didn't have to do that. He doesn't have to be over here. He didn't have to come all the way from the other side over here to check and see if this guy was okay. He didn't see the man as an extra. He seen him as a real life Wakandan, in the sense that a real life tribe member, a real life person, somebody who's part of his tribe. I want to see if he's okay. And I was like, wow. Chadwick as a person is a real life king, which made me go so much harder on set, because I wasn't just giving energy to T'Challa. I was giving energy to Chadwick as well, because I respected his character. I respected his discipline. I respected his work ethic, at the end of the day. And so, hearing about his passing was difficult because of what he represented, for me personally, as not only an ideal, but just as a man, as a real life man. He represented that time in my life, and that if I wanted to achieve something within my life, I would have to put in that same amount of effort that I did to be a part of Black Panther, the production. And the thing is, I put so much energy into it. I didn't really care if I had a cameo in the movie or not, which I did. You know, you can watch, you can see Black Panther, you can see me on the waterfall, you can pause it and see me on the waterfall, and it's all beautiful. But I did not care if I had a cameo. I wanted to add value. I wanted to be a visual. Wanted to add any type of visual aestheticism, energy aestheticism. I'm talking about I'm Ituchalalo, 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 and we are, and you know, beating drums. We were Wakandans. We forgot. Real talk. We forgot that we were not Wakandans while we were on set. Because we're on this $1 million simulated waterfall. We got on our costumes and everything, and they're playing the drums. We really thought we were Wakandans. It wasn't until we got on set, we changed it to our regular clothes, and we start to leave set, we would be like, oh, you live out here too? Like I forgot. I thought you lived in the village, in the village. Like you actually live. Oh, you live out here? That's crazy. Wow. You know, it kind of, and then this, you just quote unquote spell was like broken. Like, wow, okay. Man, it was a beautiful time. It was one of the beautiful times of my life, and I'm just so grateful that I was able to see him perform. I was able to see him not perform, not just an actor. I was able to see him perform as a person. And that's the legacy that he leaves behind. You know, his legacy is not only lived on in his movies, his legacy is moved on in who he was as a person. The fact that he was able to produce all these movies and add value to all these movies, and it went at the time he was going through chemotherapy. At the time, he had a terminal disease, but he was still putting in all this work to create a legacy. And it's made me realize how important it is to create a legacy, and that the legacy does not live on in things. Your legacy does not live on in what you do personally. Your legacy lives on in people. Your legacy lives on in people. Your legacy is the ideas that you talk about. Bob Marley, peace. You know, Tupac, black excellence and black solidarity. It's like everybody that we look up to, it's not the things that they had. It is the ideas that they embodied. You know, and the idea that Chadwick embodied of perseverance and work ethic and wanting to leave a legacy, you know, and wanting to input and wanting to add value. I miss that king, man. I miss that king. But I'm grateful that he has created an ideal. He has created a standard for how we should all be in our lives. And, you know, what's the excuse? What's the excuse? He had colon cancer and was still able to produce 5, 6, 7 movies. What's the excuse? Still able to do press tours, and I would see him. I would be like, "Yo, why does he look like that? Like, damn, is he preparing for a role? Like, man, it kind of pissed me off. He would be next to Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan would be physically dominating him, and I would be like, damn, man, now you gotta keep it up. Like, don't let him do that to you. Yeah, man, I miss that king, and I love that now we have something to chase in terms of black excellence. But I just know, man, if when we seen him on the screen as the Panther, you know, the second time for Black Panther 2, when we seen him come on that screen as a collective, we were gonna feel so good because so many things are happening racially in the culture, in the collective, in this world. George Floyd, you know, I believe his name is Jason Blake. That it's like we needed that. You know, we needed that figure, that ideal, that image of hope. And there were so many things that he represented to kids. For me, the reason why it was important for me that I was a part of Black Panther was because when I was little, that was the only positive black image that I had. all I had was superheroes for black male images. I had Spawn, but I mean with the he was a soldier of hell. I had Blade. I had Static Shock. Green Lantern on the cartoon Justice League, and I had Black Panther. But I identify with Black Panther because not only was he a king, he was physically agile, and he was intelligent. So it was a kingliness, it was intelligence, and it was also him. He's a cat as well. So the sense of almost like the balance of the masculine and feminine that he embodied, because a cat is still a. I think I have this on my wall. A cat is still a masculine figure, but it has a masculine and feminine balance because it's still a feline. But at the same time, it's a masculine feline, you know. And so that perfect balance and also being regal. It was just, man. When I was little, I loved the idea of him when I was a child. And so now being 21 as a young man, and I get to be Rah, Ridley, getting to be a part of the production of Black Panther, the one I've been modeling my life after since I was a child. Are you serious? People always ask me how much you paid. I did not care how much I was paid. I was paid, but I did not care. When I was on set, I just want to add value to this. I just want to be a part of this. I want to give my energy to this. And then also, I was also conscious that this is the first black superhero movie, excluding Spawn in the 90s, excluding Blade. This is the first black superhero movie. And my children and my grandchildren, my great grandchildren will be able to say that I contributed to this production and will be able to look at the movie and see me in the production. I'll be able to say, and they will be able to say, that my father, my great grandfather, and my grandfather was a Wakandan. Bless. This is Reverend Rah.